thank you for your time. What do you make of this moment that we're witnessing right now? He hasn't declared victory yet, but all signs are pointing to Donald Trump being returned to the White House. What do you make of that?
Well, there's no doubt it's a Trump victory. I think that's been the case for well over an hour or probably longer now. The path to victory for Vice President Harris has been looking, well, I think it closed some time ago. But this is an election that ultimately was fought on cost of living, the economy, immigration. If that was going to be the set of issues that decided that was always going to deliver a Trump victory. You add to that two other factors and a very low re-elect score on the Biden administration, on the approval rating of the Biden administration, and a right-wrong direction score which had right at 1/3, 2/3 on wrong. And this was a very steep hill to climb, I think, for the Democrats and for Vice President Harris. Then you have Donald Trump, who is unlike any other politician you will ever come across, and I can say that with some experience, having dealt with both President Trump and President Biden. And, I think what he brings now is an assertiveness and a strength to the role, which I think will have a very positive impact on global security issues. I heard you just there speaking to Ambassador Sinodinos, Arthur, as I know him, who did a great job for us when we were in government and is well respected there in the US. I think what we will see from the President is a return to that peace through strength agenda, which Robert O'Brien, the former National Security Advisor, set out in Foreign Affairs some time ago. I work now closely with Ambassador O'Brien, and I think that is a positive thing for getting stability back on so many of these troubled spots around the world.
Yeah, I'm interested that you are seeing this as a positive for global security. I mean, there are concerns about what might happen in Ukraine, for example, where he said he'll bring that war to an end. Is that inevitably going to mean Ukraine handing over territory?
Well, what I think it means is, yes, President Trump is transactional. Arthur is right about that. But that doesn't mean he likes bad deals or any deals. He likes good deals. AUKUS is a good deal. AUKUS is a deal that has its partners carrying their own weight. What we need to see in Ukraine is a position negotiated from strength, and that means strengthening the position. You might have heard Secretary Pompeo making remarks to this effect, getting the best outcome there means getting in a position of strength and then getting the right outcome. The idea of just fighting to fight tomorrow with no real intent or resource to fight to win, that isn't a good outcome for global peace and a good resolution in Ukraine either. I think that is a recipe for calamity. And so I think President Trump will bring a fresh take on that. And frankly, we need a few fresh takes on some of these challenges, whether it's there or in the Middle East.
You mentioned AUKUS. You're, of course, one of the architects of the AUKUS agreement. You caught up with Donald Trump, I think it was back in May when you were over here. How confident are you about the fate of AUKUS under a Trump presidency?
I'm very positive about it, and should be. I've never understood why people would doubt that he wouldn't support it. It's a good deal. He was very committed to the alliance when we were in government. It was the Trump administration that put its hand up when it came to the risks that it come out of the PRC, out of the People's Republic of China. I mean, you just mentioned Ukraine. One of the reasons that Republicans on the Hill are frustrated about what's happening in Ukraine is because of the distraction from what they have always seen as the main theatre, which is in the Indo-Pacific and particularly in relation to Taiwan. Now, you want the right outcome on both of these, but it was the Trump administration that actually leant in and made a bipartisan position possible on this issue of China. And we had the Biden administration follow through on that, and so I see no reason why he'd be going in a different direction. He was the one who first called it out.
Yeah. Nonetheless, we know Joe Biden has said repeatedly he would come to the aid militarily of Taiwan in the event China does try to annex it. This could well be a real challenge for whoever's in the White House. It looks like Donald Trump over the next 4 years. He's had a different set of words. He's described Taiwan as, it's 9,500 miles away. How confident are you that a returned President Trump would be there in the event of such a conflict?
Well, you're right. President Biden used language that no other president has used ever before in relation to the Taiwan Straits. I mean, it's very clear that the US interests are heavily aligned with resisting the PRC taking over taking over Taiwan. I mean, all the other conflicts we're seeing at the moment are just horrendous and awful, but in terms of their global implications, nothing compares with the fall of Taiwan to the PRC. Now, the good news, the news, I should say, in China, I think they've got a few other issues they've got to focus on at the moment because their economy is in all sorts of strife. And I think that provides the opportunity for partners, allies and others to align together and continue to strengthen our deterrent to ensure that we don't see any conflict. I mean, the point of AUKUS is to resist that aggression coming out of China, amongst many other things. And, and if you have that strong deterrent, then you don't have to use it. But you have to be determined and clear about your willingness to put this in place. And weakness is not something that I've ever associated with Donald Trump.
What about your own relationship with Donald Trump and how Australia does re-establish a relationship with him if he is back in the White House? There's been focus on Kevin Rudd as ambassador. Would you like to see him stay? And are you willing to play any sort of role in ensuring a smooth relationship?
Well, look, I'll do everything I can to support Australia, but I have no interest in taking on such a role. You know, Arthur Sitodinis did a terrific job, so did Joe Hockey, particularly when President Trump was in there last time. Kevin Rudd's doing a fantastic job, the way he's carried through the key regulatory licensing and other issues on AUKUS has been first class. And so I see no reason why you'd be making any changes there. President Trump is very positive towards Australia, and those around him are very positive towards Australia. People likely to come back in the administration are very positive towards Australia. They're very aware of how deep and how far back our relationship goes. So I'm optimistic about it, and I think with good reason. The only reason it would go south on us is if someone stuffed it up. Now, I don't think that's going to occur. We had a transition from President Trump to President Biden as a government. We were in the middle of trying to realise AUKUS, and we had to re-gear and refocus, and we had AUKUS landed within 9 months with a Democratic president after having spent a good 12 months working it through the administration of a Trump presidency. So that's what you have to do as a Prime Minister. When it comes to tariffs, I mean, Arthur set out the issues there, I think, really well. But again, when we were in government last time, we had to argue those issues through with President Trump, both Malcolm Turnbull when he was Prime Minister and we were successful when it came to aluminium and steel tariffs. We've got a good case to make. We have to make it. We have to make sure our relationship's strong, and there's every reason it should be. I don't think the relationship will fail from the US side, and I've no reason to believe why it would fail from the Australian side.
Former Prime Minister Scott Morrison, appreciate you joining us. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, David. Good to be with you.